Convention will come to order, and it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce Her Excellency, Governor of the Commonwealth, Maura T. Healey, to deliver the State of the Commonwealth address. Good evening, Massachusetts. Good evening, Massachusetts. Speaker Mariano, Senate President Spilka, Leader Jones, Leader Tarr, members of the legislature, Secretary Galvin, Attorney General Campbell, Treasurer Goldberg, Auditor DiZoglio, members of the Judiciary and Governor's Council, members of Congress, particular Leader Clark, Inspector General, mayors and local officials, former electeds, good evening, Governor, business and labor leaders, clergy and guests, to everyone in this great chamber and everyone at home, thank you for giving me the privilege of serving as your governor. To Joanna and our families, thank you for your love and support. To our Lieutenant Governor, the LG, Kim Driscoll. Kim, that ovation says it all. There's nobody who does a better job of keeping us fired up, of always focusing us on the needs of residents in our communities. You give 110% all the time. The state couldn't have a better leader, and I thank you. To members of our cabinet and executive staff, Team Massachusetts all the way. Let's see those bracelets. To our state employees, thank you for the work that you do to keep Massachusetts strong. To our service members, veterans, and Gold Star families, everything we have, we owe to you. Years ago this April, on a common in Lexington and a bridge in Concord, the farmers, tradesmen, and shopkeepers of the Massachusetts militia took a stand. They risked everything for the right to self-government, and they started a revolution that gave us our country. This is our legacy, Massachusetts. It's more than our history. It's who we are. The militia that fought at Lexington and Concord, guess what? It never disbanded. It kept going. It became part of the United States Army and defended freedom at every moment in our history. Today, it's known as the 181st Infantry Regiment, the 181, and its home is in the Massachusetts National Guard. Now, for most of the last year, the 181 was deployed to Iraq, defending peace in one of the most dangerous regions of the world. A few weeks ago, Joanna and I went out to Hanscom Air Force Base to thank those soldiers who were returning home. They stepped off the plane, no coats, just camo in their boots, straight into a welcoming, freezing wind and driving snow. But they were undaunted. They kept smiling because they were home and soon they would see their families. 9 soldiers in the 181st received combat badges during this deployment. Some of them are with us this evening. Let's give them a big by the grit, drive, sheer goodness and determination of the people of Massachusetts. I see it in the firefighters who spent weeks battling wildfires last fall. When we see, as Father John said, what the firefighters are doing in Southern California right now, and what our own firefighters, and also first responders, and also police officers do every single day, we are so grateful. Tonight, I want to welcome home, yes. And tonight, we're honored to have with us International Firefighters President and Boston's own Ed Kelly. And the boys will take good care of you. I see it in the teachers in the schools where we pioneered public education. I see it in the breakthroughs by our scientists and innovators. Did you know that last year, in 2024, a third of all of the Nobel Prizes, a third went to people in Massachusetts. Now, this is not unusual, it turns out. Two MIT economists won for showing that democracy makes economies stronger. And tonight with us are Victor Ambrose of UMass Chan Medical School and Gary Rivkin of Mass General Hospital and Harvard. They won the Nobel Prize for Medicine, and they and you will be glad that our economic development bill that we passed and reinvested in life sciences will ensure that the cures, the technologies, and the great future of jobs will be right here in Massachusetts, and I'm glad you're cheering for our Nobel winners. Thank you. Thank you. We tackle hard problems in Massachusetts. Hard stuff. Wicked hard stuff, sometimes. I think of Coach Joe Mazzulla. He said, he's an innovator as well, in a field that I like. He said, everybody notices the easy things. Can you fight to notice the hard things? That's where winning is. You know, we know something about winning in Massachusetts. Last year, the Boston Renegades won the National Women's Football title. The Fleet were national finalists in women's hockey. It's the 100th anniversary of the Boston Bruins. And the Celtics hung banner 18. How about that, Max, right? facts. And you know what was really special? Though they did not happen in Massachusetts, they happened in Paris. Those Olympic and Paralympic Games, we had over 40 athletes from Massachusetts representing our great state. With us tonight are rowing medalist Clark Dean and also Famita Ayambeku. Famita, let me tell you something. I just got to say something about Famita. You know, she's a world-class Paralympic sprinter and a mom who gave birth 8 months before she competed. She made the finals in the 100 meters, did us proud. Two years ago, we promised to lead in a way worthy of this state's proud history and its incredible people, to protect and strengthen the things we love, and to take on the things that make life too hard for too many, like high costs that hold people back, aging infrastructure that slows us down. These problems, we know, have been building up for years, decades. Maybe there were other priorities, maybe the politics were hard. But we refused to accept things the way they were. We refused to kick the can down the road any longer. Why? Because if those soldiers can spend a year away from their families, if our firefighters can toil for days in the woods burning, if entrepreneurs can pour their heart and soul into business, then government can do our job and deliver the results that you pay for and that you deserve. And that's what we've done. Working with everyone in this chamber, and I mean it, as I look across this room tonight, I think about the work that we were able to do together, working with others across this great state. And in that work together, I'm proud to have been a part of working to complete one of the most productive legislative sessions in Massachusetts history. Tax cuts, housing, economic development, health care, climate, veterans, to name a few. Mr. Speaker, Senate President, it's not lost on me that this could not have happened without your leadership. Thank you for staying with it. Thank you for getting so much done. When I think about what we got done, you know what we focused on? We focused on the stuff that matters. The stuff that matters to most people. When Father John spoke, he alluded to some of the division and divisiveness that we experience right now in our world, not just in Massachusetts, but everywhere. But what we focused on are the needs, the wants of residents and families across this state. I think we focused on the right things. People want life to be more affordable. So we delivered the first tax cut in over 20 years. We gave seniors an extra $1,000 back. We're giving families an extra $400 back for every child. And we now have the most generous tax credit in the entire country, which goes along with free breakfast and lunch in school and no-cost community college. We know that people need childcare. You know, after the pandemic, childcare across this country was collapsing. Childcare centers were closing. We got to work here in Massachusetts. And we got to work because we know our working parents are counting on us. Do you know that we are, and I'm proud to say this, the only state to fully replace federal support that went away with a $1.5 billion investment? We not only saved our system, affordable childcare is growing now in Massachusetts. Today, 36,000 more children are getting care. And what does that mean? It means their parents are able to go to work and support their families. People also want to be able to afford a home. So we passed the Affordable Homes Act to create tens of thousands of affordable homes and new homeowners. We've already increased production in our state programs by 50%. We have more to do, and we're going to do it. People also need transportation. They rely on public transit to get around. Remember when we took office? Trains were barely moving. So we hired an experienced general manager for the T in Phil Ang. And yes, in Phil we trust. And why? Because with Phil and the added workforce, Phil set a goal with his team of fixing tracks by the end of 2024. A bold promise, given the T's history. And I don't know the last time a governor talked about the T so early in a state of the state. But for the first time in over 20 years, the T is full speed with no more slow zones, giving you time back in your life. Phil set a goal, he set a deadline, he and the team beat it. Thank you so much and congratulations. We also made regional bus systems from the Berkshires to Cape Ann fare-free. And for the first time in 70 years, this spring, South Coast Rail commuters service is going to be running to Taunton, to Fall River, to New Bedford. Transportation, housing, childcare. You know what people also want? They want safe and modern infrastructure. I promised to you that we would go after and chase every single federal dollar out there. And in 2 years, we brought home more than $9 billion to Massachusetts. Money for roads and bridges, high-speed internet and broadband, solar power, and so much more. I want to thank our federal delegation for all their work in bringing this home. Big deal. It's a really big deal. You think about it, in transportation dollars alone, we went from 34th place in the country to 7th place. We were ahead of larger states like Florida, Ohio, and North Carolina. We won funding to take the next steps forward on West-East Rail. We got the biggest bridge grant ever given to a state for the Cape Cod bridges. These last 2 years, we've also taken on some tough, unexpected problems, including a massive influx of people into our emergency shelter system. An influx due to a failure of federal border control and a nationwide housing crisis. I want to be absolutely clear. We're dramatically reducing costs. We have and we will prioritize Massachusetts families. In 2025, we'll get families out of hotels for good. We're going to continue to keep working with the legislature to reform this system. Massachusetts taxpayers cannot and should not foot the cost. The government, the federal government, needs to fix this at the source by passing a border security bill. I've said I agree, anyone who does violent acts should be held accountable and be deported. I've also said that immigrant families who've lived here, who are working here, who pay taxes here, who are raising children here, deserve a path forward. Congress and the new administration must act and act without delay. And whatever else is happening, we'll always put our veterans first. We passed the HERO Act. It's the biggest veterans legislation in state history. Thank you. That legislation, it's expanding health benefits, job opportunities, and so much more. We're ending veteran homelessness once and for all, because no one who served our country should ever be left behind in their time of need. And we built. You know what we also did? In a short period of time, following a chapter of tremendous tragedy and heartache in our state, we built brand new world-class facilities at the veterans' homes in Chelsea and Holyoke. When I visit the Holyoke Veterans Home, I love seeing my friend Rose Roy. Rose is 102 years old. She is a World War II veteran. The staff there take care of her like family. She leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance when we visit, right? Rose, I know you couldn't make the trip here tonight. I know you're at the home watching with friends, and I just want to say to you and to all out there who served, we all thank you for your service. We love you, and we really, really want you to know that. You can all wave to Rose. Good. I'm proud that Massachusetts, not only the birthplace of the National Guard, the birthplace of the United States Navy, we're a state that's also always supported our military. And that's why we're so proud to win a fleet of brand new F-35 fighter jets for our air base at Barnes in Westfield. Colonel Dave, where are you, Moon? Dave Halassi-Kuhn is here with leaders from all of our military bases in Massachusetts. Thank you for being here. People want their government to work for them. Let me give you an example. A little while back, I found out that there was a law threatening to take away licenses from hundreds of commercial truck drivers. That wasn't right. We fixed it. And now they're keeping their licenses and their jobs. International Teamsters President Sean O'Brien's in the house tonight. He knows what a good trucking job means to middle-class families, and so do we. another thing that means something to a lot of people that we did? We made history by pardoning hundreds of thousands of people for misdemeanor marijuana convictions. It was the right thing to do. Thank you. In Massachusetts, our greatest resource is our people. When we took office, too many were leaving for other states. Guess what? Now that trend is changing. Each year that we've been in office, fewer people have left. Last year, we had the biggest population increase since 1964. That's a 60-year high. I know when we deliver results and people are free to chase their dreams, there's no limit to how strong we can be. It's why we're ranked #1 in education, #1 in innovation, #1 in healthcare. We were named the best state for women, best state to have a baby, best state to raise a family. We're ranked the most environmentally friendly state and the safest state as well. Our economy has continued to grow and add good jobs. Unemployment is low. Median household income is the highest in the nation. We have an excellent bond rating, and our rainy day fund is at record levels. And I can say tonight, with both pride and confidence, that the state of our Commonwealth is strong. It is. But I also know we got a whole year ahead. And this year, we're going to work to implement all that historic legislation that I was talking about. We're going to stay focused on the things that matter to you. We'll take new steps forward to fix transportation, make homes more affordable, invest in education, and grow our economy. State revenues are growing, but we also know, no matter what you're buying, the costs have gone up. The federal pandemic relief money is gone, so we're going to continue to control spending and live within our means, just as every family and business in Massachusetts must do. The budget I submit next week will prioritize efficiency, action, and impact. We need every dollar. You need every dollar to make a difference. We're going to do that because I want to make sure that things move and really go in our state. Let's start with transportation, because I think we have an opportunity to do something really special this year. When we took office, everyone was frustrated, and rightly so. Bridges were in rough shape, forcing long drives because of detours. Too many streets were filled with potholes, sidewalks were cracked, broken dams, busted culverts left towns vulnerable to flooding. And what's worse, there was no plan to dig out, let alone try to make anything better. That's no way to run a transportation system. Certainly not for a modern economy like ours. It wasn't going to keep us competitive either with other states, other countries. And most important, it wasn't respectful to the people who need to travel on our roads, to go to work, to get to school, to get to appointments, to just simply live their lives. We've been determined to do things differently. And we did. We got big projects moving with federal funding. We got more help to cities and towns to fix those streets and sidewalks. And we got the T moving. There's more that needs to be done. But what I can say now to drivers, to riders, to taxpayers, is that the money you invest will get you results. Now, we can start building forward, building the kind of transportation that you deserve. Here's how we're going to do it. It's not with new taxes. It's going to be with smart, forward-thinking management. Our plan is to invest $8 billion over the next 10 years to make transportation in every corner of our state more secure, more safe, more reliable. We'll put the entire system, for the first time in a long time, on stable footing. When we do this, we're going to see the results. We'll see bridges fully open again, like the I-391 viaduct in Chicopee. Well, you gotta. Yeah, you'll see smaller local bridges finally fixed too, like Commercial Street in East Weymouth. You'll see more funding in your town's budget to fix roads and sidewalks. And finally, as your mayors, we're going to help you. Finally, we're going to close the T's budget gap so Phil and his team can keep cooking. You're going to see major improvements when it comes to upgrades at stations like Ruggles and Roxbury, and at new platforms across our commuter rail system, from Beverly Depot to West Medford to Franklin and beyond. Look, the bottom line is you're going to wait less, you're going to move faster, and we'll be a state where everybody gets where they need to go safely, affordably, sustainably, and on time. Let me tell you about housing. For decades, we didn't build enough housing in this state. We're paying the price for it right now. There's not enough housing, it's too expensive, but we're changing that. This year, with the Affordable Homes Act, we're going to get shovels in the ground and people in homes, and we're going to do it by working together. A $5 billion act we passed, thank you so much, I was able to sign. Now we're going to implement. Now we're going to lean in and implement. So far already, more than 116 towns have said yes to more homes near transit through the MBTA Communities Act. That means thousands of new homes are already in the pipeline. So let's keep the momentum going. Look, if we want our kids to stay here, if we want families to put down roots here, if we want seniors and grandparents to be able to downsize and stay here, if we want companies to grow, expand, to stay here, we're going to need to build more homes. So we're going to build them. Now, I talked to you about homes and home ownership. I also want to speak to the renters out there. And the renters aren't just young people. So many families in this state are renting. And I know wherever you move, there's a huge cost. First month, last month, security deposit. I rented for many years. I know it adds up. And with today's rents, it costs so much more. And too often, there's been this other cost added on for something you didn't even ask for, a broker's fee. That's not right. Did you know that the average renter in Massachusetts is paying 10 grand just to get a foot in the door? $2,500 rent ends up costing 10 grand before you even move in. That's money that you could be saving for a down payment or any number of things. If you rent, you should not be forced to pay a broker's fee. And that's why I'm calling to abolish tenant brokers' fees in Massachusetts. I believe it is the right thing to do. We have the best schools in the country. It's a core value and also one of our competitive advantages. So I am committed, and I believe we all must be committed to excellence for every student. We're number one in education, and we are going to stay that way. Now, the voters decided in November that the MCAS graduation requirement isn't the way forward. I respect that decision. But it creates for all of us an opportunity and a responsibility to make sure that every student graduates set up for success. We need a high statewide standard. Students, families, and employers need to know what a diploma represents. And without that baseline, you know what happens. It's always going to be the most vulnerable students who don't get what they need. For that reason, I'm directing a statewide graduation requirement council that will include teachers, colleges, employers, and students to develop recommendations for a permanent high standard. We're going to evolve to a new Massachusetts model for high school excellence that best serves our children. And you know what? I don't know any of you with kids at home, but high school is not what it used to be, nor should it be. So we're going to match those high standards with great opportunities. Great opportunities like early college and job training programs that give students a leg up on their next step. Let me introduce a young man, Harris. Where are you, Harris? There's Harris. Let me tell you, well, don't clap for him until I tell you what he's done. I'm kidding. Harris comes to us as a graduate of Burlington High School. Now, when he was there, he didn't just take traditional courses. He was also taking computer science through a career pathway. It's one of the programs that we've brought to over 100 high schools in Massachusetts. These programs partner with local employers in fields from biotechnology to advanced manufacturing to clean energy. As a senior, Harris did a capstone project with an industry mentor nearby. He built an app for a local sneaker store called Courtside Kicks. Now he's a freshman at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, doing a degree in software engineering and managing that sneaker store part-time. He's working hard, he's building great experience. Somebody had to get more applause than Max. That's a real program, and I want parents out there to understand what's going on. Not only can your kids go to high school and take courses at a nearby community college and actually get credits towards an advanced degree, but we have programs like Career Innovation Pathways, where they can be on their way to learning skills and to working while gaining academic coursework achievement in our public high schools. We want that for all of our kids across the state. Now, I talk about kids like Harris who are thriving, and that's what we want for all of our young people. So let's also talk about the kids who aren't thriving. Students are struggling. There are pressures, there are challenges that we never had to deal with when we were growing up. And when our sons and daughters are in crisis, they need help right away. No one, especially a child, should sit for hours or days in an emergency room waiting for mental health care. That's why we opened up 31 community behavioral health centers across the state. And you know what? They're working. They're there providing 24-hour dedicated care. They've made a difference, helping more than 30,000 young people so far. We're going to keep supporting that work. But we also need to do more. We need to meet students, young people, where they are. And that's in schools, among other places, but in schools. It's really important. So I want to work to make sure that we're funding behavioral health support and growing that support in schools across the state. It's going to be a big deal for parents. It's going to be a big deal for caregivers. And most of all, we have the opportunity to change the trajectory in a positive way for a young person in our state. We owe that to our young people. You know, I wanted to take a moment on that because I do think it is something that so many people struggle with, so many families struggle with, mental health. I also want to remind people it's so important that we reach out and that we encourage and empower those who are struggling with mental health challenges to reach out and to find support. We've got a lot of support in this great state. We've got to find ways to build more support. But I wanted to take a moment tonight to be clear with the people of Massachusetts that we're going to work on this together and make sure that happens. I also we're talking about education and laws. I just want to talk about a special person, Representative Carol Doherty of Taunton. She's a longtime educator. And she can't sadly be with us tonight, and we wish her the very best. But I mentioned Carol because this year, I believe that she and Senator Oliveira will reintroduce legislation to make classes in American Sign Language eligible for course credit. ASL, we know, is used by millions of Americans, and interpreters are in short supply. So we're going to work to get this done. And Carol, I know you couldn't be here tonight, but I just wanted to say thank you. Massachusetts is America's healthcare leader. We're first in quality, first in coverage, and we're number one for having the healthiest population. I don't know that I contribute to that, but I'm working on it. Look, we're number one because we have the best and hardest working nurses and doctors and healthcare professionals, not just in the country, but in the world. And we lead because we don't accept the status quo. We keep pushing forward. Last year, we were able to get an additional 60,000 Massachusetts people affordable health care coverage. Because of the steps we took, people in Massachusetts now have access to breast cancer screenings, midwives, doulas, birthing centers, recovery coaches, and so much more, because insurance is going to cover it. I also know that many have medicines that you need to take for diabetes, asthma, heart conditions, but you go to a pharmacy totally stressed out because you don't know if you can afford it. We've taken steps to take that stress away from people, and last week I signed a law that says you're not going to pay more than $25 a month for that insulin, for that inhaler, or whatever it is you need. I think that's really, really important. I thank the legislature for their work to get that bill done. And speaking of healthcare, we got a terrible company, Steward, out of Massachusetts. And in the course of that, we saved 6 hospitals, protected 13,000 jobs, shored up the stability of the healthcare market. And I just want to say we did that because we worked as a team. We had unions and management working together. We had our great not-for-profit systems step in. And I really, really appreciate it. And I also really appreciate the leadership of our own fabulous Secretary of Health and Human Services, Kate Walsh. We still have much work to do. Patients are paying more than ever for premiums and out-of-pocket costs. Oftentimes, it's just so hard to get an appointment. It's really frustrating, isn't it? It's unacceptable. It should be unacceptable in our state. So we've got to change it. Here's what I think we need to do. I know I'm going to direct my administration to shift healthcare resources to the front lines. What do I mean by the front lines? I mean primary care. Primary care. If we focus on primary care, we're going to get rid of a lot of other problems that become a lot more complex and hard for people and families, and also a lot more expensive. I'd love to build a whole army of primary care providers to be out there across our state so that when you call for an appointment, you're actually going to get one. You'll get the care that you need where and when you need it. And finally, our leadership in this moment has never been more important, including our unshakable commitment to reproductive health care for all who need it, for all who provide it. We're going to protect women's access to needed care, and we're going to protect those who provide it. Always. Now, fixing transportation, healthcare, education, housing, all of these things are super important and make the quality of life better. They also make our economy more competitive and our businesses stronger. From our Main Street mom and pops to our global companies, our businesses, small and large, provide jobs and support communities. So we have to support them in every sector, in every corner of our state. I think about how hard small businesses are working. You know that. You see them every day. I hope that you support and frequent them every day. I think about Liz and Nate Latoile. They're here tonight along with Chris Sellers. Let me tell you about these guys, okay? So they've got a farm and a brewery out in Northfield, 4-Star Farms. And I say this, remember there's a guy, former governor, Sam Adams, he brewed beer. We've got a proud history of brewing beer here in Massachusetts. But do you know that until now, breweries like theirs weren't able to sell their beer at local farmers markets? That didn't make any sense, so we fixed it. We're grateful to 4-Star Farms and small businesses like it, and we want to support them. And I raise that as an example because look, large or small, it may not be the biggest deal in the world to everybody, but you know what? It hurts them. And if something is hurting any one of our small businesses, just like if something was hurting a bunch of guys who are driving trucks and driving our economy, let's look at it and see if we can do. We may not be able to fix everything. God knows the world's got any number of challenges. But the little things, taking action and not being afraid to take action, I believe is what we need to continue to do. Thank you, guys. I look forward to visiting you in a couple months. One step further. I'm also directing our economic team to review all business and licensing regulations in these first 3 months with the goal of cutting tape. I want it cheaper and faster to do business in Massachusetts. I want people coming, okay? We can do that. When we back our businesses, they grow and they thrive. Just this year, look at our global life science companies. Our leaders are investing in headquarters, in labs, and manufacturing plants, not only in Greater Boston, but in Worcester and all across this state. Startups are growing here that are going to help us decarbonize and bring more energy to Massachusetts. Now, they're able to scale up statewide with support from our new climate tech initiative. We're also going to go big on artificial intelligence. I don't want anybody to be afraid. AI is where the internet was 30 years ago. It's going to change everything. And states will either help steer AI's impact or will struggle to keep pace. We're Massachusetts. We're Massachusetts, where we actually pioneered the science behind AI. So I want us to lead for Massachusetts businesses, for our residents, and for our workforce. See, AI is going to help us cure those diseases faster. AI is going to help us identify where we need to build up those dams and shore up our coastline to deal with the effects of climate change. AI is going to help us, and is helping our administration right now, speed and improve the delivery of services. This is what Massachusetts does. We do it better than anybody else. I want us to do it now. I want us to do it now so much. It's why I've funded $100 million towards an AI hub to back the scientists, the startups, the companies, the researchers at our universities whose breakthroughs will define our future. We're investing in the data center in Holyoke that will support cutting-edge research by our universities, our research institutions, and our businesses. We're putting Massachusetts on the AI map, and our students, our workers, and our businesses will lead. Just you wait. We're also going to keep leading on clean energy. The climate law that we just passed speeds up permitting so we can quickly build out the infrastructure to get more energy to our homes, to our businesses, faster and cheaper. I want to thank all the workers who are going to help us get this done. Thank you especially to AFL-CIO President Chrissy Lynch for all the work and all the partnership. Deal. It means cheaper energy, cleaner energy, and energy independence. We're going to be building new homes, new labs, new data centers, new manufacturing plants. We got to power it all. So we've got to go out and get after it. 250 years after we started a revolution, it's Massachusetts' moment again. We'll lead the commemorations of America's founding. We'll fire up our tourism economy. We'll shine a light on our revolutions today, the ideas, the solutions that continue to make our world a better, freer place. This is a moment to know our past, to understand our present, and to build our future. In 4 days, there will be a transition of power in Washington. I assure you, we will take every opportunity to work with the federal government in any way that benefits Massachusetts. And I also promise you, we will not change who we are. I know you've been listening to me long enough. And maybe while you were, your eyes wandered and you took in some of what is in this incredible chamber, the history, the moments that not only changed the course of America, changed the course of the world. So much of it, it happened right in this space. And You know, I'm thinking about the fact that it was 64 years and about a week ago today, just days before his inauguration, President-elect John F. Kennedy spoke right here in this chamber. In this moment, I think of his words which are now inscribed on this rostrum. He talked about what service requires of all of us: courage, judgment, integrity, and dedication. Those are the values that must guide us in what must be a resolute focus on what people need and how we can work together to deliver for them. Because in this moment, our actions matter more than our words. Taking on the hard challenges matters. The choices and the investments we make matter. The world we build for the next generation matters. So in a time that's too often defined by our differences, let's keep our eyes on the things we share in common. Let's recognize that our lives and our fates are bound together, and let's work together for the common good in our Commonwealth. God bless you, Massachusetts, and God bless the United States of America.
Nice job, Governor Healey. Thank you for your words. I will now ask Rabbi Mark Baker, President and CEO of the Combined Jewish Philanthropies, to come up to the rostrum and offer the benediction.
Thank you, Governor Healey, for your inspiring words and for your leadership. It's such an honor for me to be with you tonight. I'm a fourth-generation Bostonian, so this means a lot to me and to my family. Please join me in praying for the well-being of the governor and lieutenant governor, for the elected officials here today, and for all the elected officials and civil servants across the Commonwealth and our country. May God, source of justice, truth, and love, before whom every human leader stands, bless these leaders with the wisdom, discernment, and good judgment to make impossible decisions guided by vision, values, and love for the people they serve. We are living in fragile times. The problems we face locally and globally, including natural disasters and war, have no simple solutions, yet require focused, patient, relentless commitment to making the world a better place. In that spirit, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the dramatic progress made yesterday toward returning the hostages and achieving a ceasefire in Gaza. God, may every one of them return home to their families, and may everyone be able to live with dignity, security, and peace. Times like these can disincentivize well-meaning people from taking on positions of leadership and dedicating their lives to public service, which is precisely why the work of this chamber is so sacred and so desperately needed right now. May God bless these leaders with curiosity and open-mindedness so they may pursue truth and a deeper understanding of our complex world. Bless them with patience and compassion for all of us, the citizens for whom they are responsible and whose lives are in their hands. May our leaders find meaning, purpose, and joy in their service, for which we are deeply grateful. God, let us also remember that the sacred work of building and rebuilding our society is a collective responsibility. This great country was founded on the ideal of a covenantal partnership between we, the people, and the leaders we have elected to lead us. When our challenges feel overwhelming, we can be tempted to paralysis or despair. This week, Jews around the world will begin reading the book of Exodus, which describes the journey from slavery to freedom, from bitterness to joy, from darkness to light. The Exodus story gave us a revolutionary idea: hope. Hope is the belief that we are never doomed by the past, nor stuck in the present, that the world can be better tomorrow than it is today, and that, like Moses at the burning bush, every one of us has a role and responsibility to play in making that happen. We have the agency, the power, the God-given creative capacity to change our lives and our world for the better. And how do we do this? We begin with what in Hebrew is called a cheshbon hanefesh.
And ingenuity of our residents. Yet this brilliance is stifled by one of the most hostile business climates in the country, burdened with excessive taxes and regulations. In the last decade, Massachusetts Democrats have enacted a sweeping new tax surcharge, sharp taxes on cannabis sales, and benefited from an explosion of revenue from casino gambling. Yet the MBTA continues to crumble, and our schools see their resources siphoned off. The influx of new revenue streams, coupled with the lack of tangible results, is undeniable proof that the Massachusetts government has a serious spending problem. If we stay on this path, we risk losing our edge and watching our innovation stagnate. As the newly elected governor of New Hampshire likes to say, Massachusetts used to be a success story. Now we're just a cautionary tale. It's time we chart a new path forward by lowering taxes and reducing regulations. We can empower businesses to thrive, create high-paying jobs, and lower the cost of living. Poor budget management is just one result of Beacon Hill that has operated in the shadows for decades. Last year, 72% of Massachusetts voters passed question 1, mandating that the state auditor open the government books and hold lawmakers accountable. Instead, legislative leaders have brazenly ignored the will of the people, and power is bottlenecked in the hands of roughly a dozen powerful Beacon Hill Democrats who act like they are above the system of democracy. If government shortfalls are Exhibit A, then the humanitarian disaster created by the Healey-Driscoll administration's mishandling of this migrant shelter system is Exhibit B. In the last 3 years, over $2.5 billion has been poured into this unsustainable system, and that's just the amount they're telling us. These funds could have provided every town and city in Massachusetts with $7 million in local aid. Instead, residents in struggling municipalities are forced to watch their tax dollars squandered on a problem the Democratic supermajority refuses to solve. Taxpayer money should be invested in strengthening our communities, not squandered to sustain a crisis just so Democrats can prioritize politics over pragmatism. Massachusetts Republicans think that it's time to prioritize our schools, local services, and the needs of our residents over reckless spending on free migrant housing. A Mass GOP public records request has exposed horrifying incidents within state-funded shelters, including sexual assaults, drug trafficking, and violent crimes. Even worse, the administration knowingly suppressed these revelations betraying the trust of Massachusetts residents. Governor Healey claims she ordered criminal background checks on shelter residents over a year ago. However, recent investigative reporting has revealed that these checks were not being conducted, and the governor has yet to explain why. I truly hope that the governor uncovers the truth behind this colossal oversight and isn't being misled by members of her own administration. It's becoming evident that the left hand of this administration doesn't know what the far left hand is doing. As Governor Healey fails to comply with her own mandate for migrant criminal background checks, she has no problem threatening the people of this Commonwealth with a mandate of her own. Reshape your communities the way she sees fit, or face lawsuits. Her administration's hypocrisy is evident. While refusing federal mandates to deport violent criminals, they are quick to impose state mandates on our cities and towns. When the incoming administration called for states to assist in deporting violent, illegal criminals, Governor Healey dodged responsibility, claiming ignorance of what a sanctuary city is, despite praising them as Attorney General. This double standard sends a clear message to the people of Massachusetts. The governor is more focused on threatening lawsuits against municipalities than addressing critical issues like public safety. The hypocrisy is staggering. She defies federal mandates, but insists that municipalities comply with her own, regardless of the cost or consequences. Just as Republicans have offered common sense governance under Governors Weld, Cellucci, Swift, Romney, and Baker, our party in Massachusetts has sought to be a partner in common sense during Governor Healey's time in the corner office. Massachusetts Republicans have consistently offered straightforward reforms to the right to shelter program, like residency requirements and prioritizing veterans, only to face relentless obstruction from the Democratic supermajority. But the tide is turning. Following the special election of Republican Senator Peter Durant in 2023, the number of Democratic senators supporting shelter reform surged from 0 to 9, a clear sign that one-party rule is beginning to crumble under its own weight. And now we're seeing the Healey-Driscoll administration finally show openness to reforming the program. While this shift offers hope for the future, the reforms offered by the governor are filled with loopholes and half measures, which is why it's crucial to elect more common sense Republicans up and down the ballot box. Only then can we advance pragmatic governance and finally dismantle the grip of one-party control. Growing up, I deeply admired my grandfather, Robert G. Lawson, who instilled in me both an entrepreneurial spirit and a profound sense of community. A small business owner who ran a barbershop, amongst other ventures right here in Boston, his legacy extended far beyond his work. Though he was not a politician, neighbors often turned to him with their concerns, seeking his guidance and support. He taught us to treat everyone with respect and compassion, principles that continue to guide me today. His legacy serves as a powerful reminder that true leadership isn't defined by sound bites and political showmanship. It's about serving others and fostering a strong sense of belonging. This is the spirit we must reignite in our Commonwealth. Our Commonwealth deserves a government of leaders like my grandfather, and the thousands of Massachusetts residents like him that work for the betterment of this community, not their own political interest. As we conclude this evening, I want to take a moment to recognize the contributions of a leader who, like my grandfather, was a pillar of his community. We recently lost a good friend in Joe Botash, a beloved husband, father, grandfather, and the select board chair in Rentham. Joe served his community with distinction, and his legacy will inspire us in the years ahead. Joe loved Rentham, and he loved our state, and I know he's looking down on us, rooting for our collective success. Massachusetts is at a crossroads. We face a critical decision: continue down a path of secrecy, mismanagement, and unaffordability, or chart a bold new course. To restore affordability, we must reduce taxes, implement smarter housing policies, and return growth decisions to municipal control. To ensure transparency, we must enforce the audits Massachusetts residents voted for, open the legislative processes, and end the abuse of transparency exemptions in the legislature. To uphold accountability in our shelter system, we must enforce residency requirements, implement comprehensive background checks, and restore fiscal responsibility. Together, with more balance in state government, we can build a Massachusetts where families afford to stay, businesses can thrive, and opportunities are within reach for all. Thank you, and may God bless you, and God bless our Commonwealth.